Hello, welcome to the new Member Hub webinar, and thank you for joining us. This is a live webinar on the new COPA Member Hub. We see a number of people who have joined, so thank you for those who are joining. Really, the purpose of the webinar today is provide information and help to members who are just getting started with the new Member Hub. I'm Mark van Berkel. I'm the President and CEO of the Canadian Owners and Pilots Association. And joining me today on this webinar is James Ferrier, who's the Director of Aviation Ops. Thank you, Jim. Also on the webinar from the COPA team is Hannah, who is running things in the background, Carolina and Michelle. And Hannah's helping with the presentation. Webinar, Michelle and Carolina are monitoring your questions in the chat function of MS Teams. Just to point out to everyone, there is a chat icon that you can click on and type your questions into that chat box. We'll endeavor to answer all the questions you might have now, but please note you can also email your questions into COPA via the email address copa@copanational.org. Michelle will put that email address into the chat box for those who might want to note it down. And with all that said, let's get started. So Jim, let me ask you, the old COPA system that we had seemed like it was working fine. Why did we migrate over to a new one?
Well, the primary driving factor is over the course of the last few years, even before my time with COPA, there was numerous member complaints about accessibility to the system and basically the functionality and ability to look at your own profiles, etc. So that was the driving force. Also, the old system was aging architecture, so older system was harder to maintain. Certainly from the administration point of view, from the office, it was difficult to manage personal accounts and some of the finance transactions and those type of things. So it was time to move to a newer system. So that's where we arrived at today. So.
Well, and admittedly, you know, I came on board in May, and it was challenging for me even to try and figure it out and navigate. And I knew that there was a new system in the works, so I was not investing too much time and energy in the old system. But my first impression was it was clunky, and it wasn't going to allow us to do the things that we want to do in the future. Like it was clunky with the credit card processing, it was clunky with a lot of different things. So I understand that we need a new system, but I tried registering for the new account and I can't get in. So what do I do now?
So the first thing that you should be looking for is the invitation email from COPA in your email. So invitations were sent to all the email addresses that we had on file in the old system. So that's the first thing that you should have seen in your inbox. The example I have here is a Gmail box. So if you click and open that email, you really just get an invitation email to go in and start to set up your account. If you just click on that email that was sent to you, create your account, it brings you to the system to begin to set up the account. So from there, you just have to select to register with your email.
But what if I didn't get that email? Like my inbox is a disaster. Okay, I can't find anything. So what if I didn't get that email or I can't find that email? What am I supposed to do now?
If you didn't get that email, then your choices are preferably send a message to copa@copanational.org and we can resend an invite to your email. Or if you have a different email, we can also make that adjustment at that time. So that's the easiest way. Of course, you can call. May take a little longer. I know that Carolina's been getting a few phone calls with the changes, so probably fastest to go through the email address if possible.
Okay, so I've got my email now. I got it straightened out. What do I do now?
So once you click through to register with your email, you're going to get either on your computer or your phone, whichever. You can do it on either. To create your account, so you need to enter your name, first and last name that you have in your account, the email address associated to the account, which would be the one that you got the email invitation at. And then you just create a password. So they're not looking for your old password. They're looking for any password that you choose to have. If you choose to use your old one, that's fine. It'll work as well. And then you just click the button to create your account. I think you have to select the privacy policy there as well, which talks about sort of the global glue up privacy policy, which does describe that there is some information sharing inside the system. And we're going to talk a little bit about the privacy a little later, so we can get to that then.
Okay.
So once you create the account, if we go to the next slide, basically you're brought into your profile or your application form, which is really the history that we've brought forward from the old system as we had it. So there's a number of questions there. You can answer as you wish. The only things that are really required are your first, last name, and your email address are the important things. Also, billing information or address information. Billing information is the important one. So name or your address and postal code or that kind of thing. Once you've selected and chosen the selections that you want on that form, you just click continue and your profile is created in the system.
Okay.
And once you're advised of that, then there is a link there. There's also a link to a web app that you can access. But from there, you can now go in and log into the actual system and begin to manage your profile online. So if you click on that one, we would go to the next opportunity. So you're going to get a welcome screen that's going to ask you to upload a photo and a title and a company. You can do that if you wish. Once you do that, you need to fill out all of those areas and click save. They will then be available to the member directory in the future, depending on your settings that you choose later, or you can choose to skip it. It's easiest is usually just skip it. You can decide on what you want to do later. Skip that and it'll bring you directly into your online profile in the system.
Okay, so that's an optional step. I don't have to put my photo. I don't have to put all that stuff in there, because I am sensitive regarding my personal information, right?
Yeah, so you can do two things. You can either skip it, in which case the system will give you some prompts later on to potentially add that, but you can continue to skip it. Or you can put in something that is very generic for yourself. So if you're not willing to share your name and so on, it would be disappointing because it is a community and a membership and closed to our COPA membership as far as access to the information. But if you choose not to do it, you can put in something very generic like just your first name and in your initial or those kind of things as well. So it's just that all of those you can always upload. It doesn't need to be a picture of you. It could be a picture of the instruments of your aircraft, or it could be a picture of your aircraft or anything that you want as well. So.
Sure. But I can, as I warm up to this and I think about it, I can go back in later and update that stuff on my profile. So if
you can always go back and update your profile. Yes. The only thing that you cannot self or change on your own is your email address. The email address is now going to be your key primary identifier in the system. So if you ever want to change your email, you're going to have to contact the office.
Okay. Okay.
So once you're in your membership and you've gotten past that page, you're going to jump into your page, so your glue up page or your COPA glue up page, which will give your profile. So your membership is there. This is the main screen that you're going to access on an ongoing basis. There's two menu buttons. So on the left-hand side, you have a navigation menu, which brings you to the different features of the system. And in the top right-hand side, there's a menu setting button, which will allow you to manage your own personal profile. So things like security, languages, those things. So I was going to touch a little bit on the navigation bar first. So you can see we're in the membership side of this section on the previous one, which was the little crown icon. If you choose the icon that looks, I'm going to call it a printer or something like that, that's subscriptions. Which is an important feature. So this is going to allow you to access the different groups and communities inside the system itself, which is one of the reasons we made the change, is try to build a community where people can exchange ideas and thoughts on the association, and obviously COPA leadership can provide information through the system as well. So if you click on subscriptions, which is that icon, it will bring you into a new menu where you will see, right now there's only 4 available, the main one being the member community. So if you want to be a part of the general discussion of members you would select that on. So that right now is showing off. If you click on it, it's going to turn it blue like the ones above it, and it will now add the general discussion to your homepage. So if we click that, you could now go in and look at your homepage, and you would click on, I'm going to call it the dog's paw, but I think it's a little community of people around one others. If you click on that, you end up in your community page. So you're going to see that you would now have your general discussion available. So anything people were entering, and it looks like the example we gathered, Mark, you had posted something there in the general discussion. So everybody would be able, or anybody subscribed can see the messages that people are putting in there. There's going to be a number of different forums available. That general discussion is one that we started off with. There is also a public benefit flying section there as well. If you've subscribed to any of these different ones, you would be able to select between them from this page. We're going to add a number of different forums, flying in Canada, owners maintenance, our past pilots. We may get into some of the aircraft type groups, those kind of things as well. So we're going to build that as we move into the future. So that's the communities.
One of the things,
Yeah.
Jim, so as I was telling you, my email inbox is a disaster as it is. And so I'm kind of concerned, am I going to get bombarded with a bunch of emails from the system? Like, if I subscribe to these things, am I going to get, is my inbox going to be filled up with emails from COPA, or how do I manage that?
So we're going to get that in a second, because we're going to talk about your personal settings. So
Okay.
privacy and notifications is there. But first, we're going to move to the next slide, which is, I believe, about language settings, which some people may be interested in changing language settings. So, of course, being in Canada, we have English, French available. So I think there's a little video here that you just click through general settings, select language, look at your profile, and you can select the French language setting from the menu. So it's as simple as, once you apply it, you now go into the other language. As long as you don't go back and reset it, all of your communications will be in your language of choice. So we probably can go to the next one. I think the next one, we talk about the privacy settings that you were talking about. So through the general settings as well, there is privacy settings. So any member, once you're logged on, you can go on and you can begin to set the privacy that you want. So you can see there's a number of things there. There's the ability to share business cards between members, whether you choose to or not. So if you were to click on that particular setting about a business card, you'll get a new menu where you can either that or profile information. You can choose who it is that can see it. So public means that it's public to our system. So this particular application is what we call a software as a service. So it is something that is stood up as a unique instance for COPA. COPA's office manages the information. The information in the system is for the use of COPA. It's not shared publicly in the public domain. It's not posted on an external website or anything like that. Public relates to being available to members inside the system. You can also make choices that if you're part of the general discussion or other groups, you can allow or receive information and share information in those particular groups or organizations. Or if you prefer, you can restrict your information. It's only available to yourself and, of course, to the COPA office administrators.
Now that doesn't sound much different than how it was being administered before with the previous system. All of the data, membership data, was being managed and owned by COPA, not by a third party. It sounds like it's the exact same policy, privacy policy that's being conducted now. So
yeah, the software that we've added, it's a company that has over 600 associations and companies across the world in 50 countries that use the software. Each of those setups is a unique setup for that particular association. So, for example, the BC Chamber of Commerce uses the same system. Our information would not be shared with the BC Chamber of Commerce, just like their information would not be shared with us.
Right. Okay. And what about my membership number? I had I've had my membership. I've been a member of COPA for 20 years now, but does that change, or I still keep that same membership number and my membership status for 20 years is still retained?
Yeah, so we migrated the information across to the new system. Now, unfortunately, the new system had a different numbering policy format for it. So you're going to see a new membership number in the new system, but we have brought the old membership numbers over, so you can see those when you view your profile under legacy number. So anybody who has a card for the your old number, it's still valid, it's still in the system. Membership numbers, as I said earlier, though, are not the key driving force now that they were in the old system, where it was all around membership numbers. It's now people's unique emails. So that's the really important one, is to remember the email you've used in the system, and you'll be all set.
But that sounds good too, because quite frankly, I never memorized my COPA membership number, but I always know my email address, right? So
Yeah.
maybe it's good. Maybe it's good to have a key like that. Okay, what's next?
So that's really the setup and where you can go with it. I mean, if you have any particular questions, again, reach out to COPA at copanational.org, and one of us from the office will get back to answer any questions that are there. We can also set custom notifications in the system as another one. So as we talked about privacy, we can also look at what messages you get. So we had talked about joining communities. So once you have joined communities or generically in the system, you can select your notification settings. So once again, through your settings, you select notification settings, and you can select on and off what you want to receive. You can select it both for email notifications that you might receive, or for notifications in the system, or in the notifications part of the system. We recommend you keep the weekly post active, so that you can get the updated information from the association as we post the efforts that the office and leadership are making on behalf of members. And we recommend that you keep on the pinned posts, which are again from the office. So Mark, for example, if you wanted to send a message to all the members, particularly whether it's wishing them Merry Christmas or something that's happening with the organization, you can pin a post so everybody would get that particular message. So those are the two at minimum we recommend. Obviously, if you like to be part of the community and post notices and pictures and so on, and interact with other members, you're more than welcome to leave the other notifications as you wish on or off.
Okay, that sounds great. So one other last question I have is, so how do I get there? I used to go on the COPA website and find the member login button, and I could access my account. So how do I get there now?
So the COPA website has not changed, other than the background, basically member management part of it. So you can still go to the member login on the old website, so copanational.org, which sometime this year we're going to be updating as well, so people can look forward to a better interactive experience there as well. So you can click through the member link on the website, copanational.org, or you can, of course, bookmark. Once you've actually logged into the system, you can bookmark what the URL is for the system. Or finally, you can go to members.copanational.org, and you will link right through as well to the system. So those are the options that you have.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Are there any questions coming in from the chat? If there are, we can look at those and answer them now. For those who may have joined just a little bit late, there's a chat function right at the top of the toolbar you can click on. And if there's questions that you might have, specific things, we'll try and answer them now. We have a few minutes left of the webinar to answer those. If not, we can always take answers in or questions in through the copa@copanational.org email. If you want to send them in there, that's good. So we'll just give a minute or two if anybody has any questions. Is there a link to Magnus through the new site? It's a two-part system. So we've moved the member management system over to GlueUp, but we will be moving the website over to the GlueUp as well, and they'll be more stitched together, to be honest with you. But that's part two of it. It was really to get the member management part stood up and running, and then we're going to move the website. It will be completely seamless at the end of the transition.
And there may be opportunities, of course, with the system as well as creating communities and groups that we may actually be able to create an insurance forum even,
Yes.
where people can have discussions about insurance and so on.
Yes. Could we share documents from Transport Canada and others? Absolutely. I mean, that's the idea of having these communities stood up. One of them right now that is stood up is the general discussion, which people can ask questions and other members can answer them, or the COPA staff can answer them. But the idea is also to have groups within those communities. We're also going to have a safety type of community where we can talk about aviation safety in Canada. We're going to have a remote piloted airborne systems community there, as well as we also have a public flying community. But I can see that we're going to have the ability to put Transport Canada documents and things like that, or links to them anyway, within those groups and communities.
Yeah, and the one note I would make is for members is currently the member-only guides, which were accessed through the member-only section on the old system or the old website, are now available through the general discussion. So there's a group under the general discussion which is labeled as member guides, so you can get all of the current member guides through there if you subscribe to the general discussion.
It seems like I'm having a disconnect with the website login and GlueUp. I was able to sign up for GlueUp, but can't log into the website, and my email confirmation to reset the password isn't coming through. Okay, so the GlueUp there is no more login through the website per se. You'll click on the login button, and you should be presented with the GlueUp login screen. And so then you can reset your password from that. You should be able to reset your password. If you're having more difficulty, Morris, call into the office, and Carolina can help you out in real time. It's possible that maybe the email address was entered in wrong or something like that. That we can take a quick look.
And the question is about who is GlueUp and level of access. So GlueUp is a international company. As I said earlier, it's a company that has over 600 associations and companies across the world in more than 50 companies. It's headquartered in Virginia in the United States. It is a company that evolved out of, I don't know if anybody has ever bought concert tickets or those kind of things online, but there's a company called Eventbrite, which does that, has worldwide access for concerts, those kind of things. So it's evolved out of that company. They have obviously cloud-based infrastructure, security systems, upgrades, maintenance, all the rest. So their security and their data policies are available on there. As I mentioned earlier, the system itself is a unique instance of software as a service for COPA. The management and administration of data is our office. Of course, GlueUp as the technical provider or software provider has technical access to maintain the system for us. So obviously they have access to information, but they do not actively pull private data out of the system. It's not unlike Microsoft Office 365 that people use, or Google apps, or even iCloud apps that are there. It's a system that's put up and individually set up for each user.
Yeah. So, but the point is that it is hosted service, but I mean, it's no different than hosted email. The email hoster doesn't own your data. The same thing with GlueUp. They don't own the data. the data is owned and managed by COPA, and that hasn't really changed. We were using a third-party software as a service provider before called Civi CRM, and it's pretty much the exact same. It's just a different platform that we're using, but
Yeah,
it's the same privacy policies. COPA hasn't changed their privacy policies with regards to your data. We take personal data very, very seriously. We haven't sold the data out to a third party or anything like this. This is really COPA using the software as a service to manage the members. So.
Yeah, and as you said, Mark, it's not unlike what we had before, but Civi CRM certainly was different architecture. It was older. It was an open source, which was also a point of some concern in making the decision to switch as well.
Sure.
So some of those are the things. This is the closed community. So
yeah, there's also a question about, and I'm not sure it's a question as much as a comment, but groups for training programs as possible, learning NOTAMs, radio good practices. Yeah, so part of this too. So, one of the things that we're doing is we're really trying to, 2024 is really intended to be a transformational year for COPA. And one of the ideas is that we're bringing this new member management system in place, which really is about, connecting and communicating and advocating for members. That's really the three things that COPA is involved in. We also are standing up an aviation academy. So it's going to be the COPA Aviation Academy, where some of those things that were asked about, learning NOTAMs, radio good practices, human factors, are all courses that are being developed for the COPA Aviation Academy. And that will be available free to members. And there will be a link through this community hub, and you'll be able to go on to that COPA Aviation Academy through that. So we are doing that. Is there a time limit in order to create a new account? Well, if you're a current member, you already have an account. You just have to activate the account. So as long as you stay a member and do it within the next membership cycle, then you're going to be able to activate your account. You may have trouble finding that welcome email, and you might have to call into the office and ask them to resend you that welcome email, but there isn't necessarily a time limit per se, but we encourage everyone to take advantage of it. I mean, your membership includes this, and we think it's valuable, and it's going to add value to your membership. So we encourage you to get on sooner than later, honestly. All right. Well, that's pretty much the end of it. If there's, Hannah, you had
Yes, thank you, Jim and Mark, for this presentation. I'm just wondering here on our last slide, it says it invites members to download the app. So can you tell us a bit more how the Glue Up experience or how the new COPA membership experience is also available via mobile app?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the features that comes along with the software as a service is access to an online app, so both Android and iOS. So if you have a phone, basically you can go to the App Store in whichever way and search for Glue Up. And when you find Glue Up, you can download that app, and then you just log in with your same information that you put in online. And well, you can even create your actual account online through it. So yeah, you just download that, put in your information. It will know that you're part of COPA. You just verify, yeah, we're COPA, and you now have access to your entire profile and everything, and do everything online on the app. And one of the things we're looking at is to make that exclusive. So it's an opportunity that we have that it no longer will be branded and look like it will be COPA's own app. So it's just a little bit of a transformation that we're looking at doing through the year as well.
Yeah, and we are looking for comments and questions, and to make it better. We really want this to be a tool that members want to use. We have plans to add more features and capabilities throughout 2024. So, getting on board early, you're going to see a lot of good things coming out in 2024 with all of COPA, but also with our member management system. So if there's no further questions in the chat, I think that this wraps up the webinar, and I hope it answered the questions you might have about getting your account activated on the new COPA Member Hub. We really do think that this is going to help connect members and aid in communications. It's really intended for that, for it to be a tool for you. So as I mentioned previously, we are open to suggestions on how we can make it better. And if you want to email them in or call into the office, we're there. But probably the best way to reach us if you want, if you have comments or questions specifically, even about this webinar, if there's further follow-up questions and you maybe didn't feel comfortable putting them in the chat, send in an email and Carolina answers those, or we'll forward them on to the right people to get them answered. So with all of that, thank you for being a member of COPA. We appreciate you and are thankful for you, and thank you for being here today. Goodbye, everybody.